Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Yogah karmasu kaushalam.
Elements of Cost Overheads Part 7. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Chetna Marvadi, Assistant Professor, School of Commerce, Gujarat University. This part number 7 constitute two sections where section 1 is pertaining to capacity levels and section 2 is about activity based costing. Section 1 covers number 1 meaning of capacity, number 2 types of capacity levels, number 3 maximum or installed capacity, number 4 practical and operating capacity, number 5 normal capacity, number 6 capacity based on sales expectancy, number 7 actual capacity, number 8 idle capacity, and number 9 illustrations. The knowledge about capacity levels is very essential to the learner of cost accounting because this knowledge provides better understanding to determine the cost of product or service. Another emerging issue pertaining to overhead recovery is activity based costing. Activity based costing is known as ABC. ABC concept deals with one of the important components of total cost, and that is overhead. In case of overhead, under traditional costing system, recovery rate is determined through the formula total fixed cost divided by normal production. But ABC costing emphasizes on activities, and through activities recovery rate is determined. The basic understanding provided in section 2 for ABC. Section 2 covers number 1 meaning of activity based costing, number 2 terminologies used in activity based costing, number 3 understanding about cost driver, number 4 practical understanding for activity based costing approach, number 5 difference between traditional approach and activity based costing approach. Let's understand meaning and types of capacity. First we will understand meaning of capacity. Capacity of a plant refers to its ability to produce with available present resources and facilities. Capacity may be defined as an internal benchmark for maximum production possible of a particular product in a plant. It may be expressed in terms of first units of product, for example 100 cars per day, 1000 ton coal per day. Second, production hours, for example 100 hours per day. Third, value in rupee, for example total direct wages rupees 40,000 per day, hence capacity is rupees 40,000 per day. Capacity determination is influenced by different factors like nature of plant, that is traditional, intermediate, automatic, nature of product, that may be liquid, semi-liquid or non-liquid product, and nature of measurement, that is rupees, kilograms, hours, liters, etc. Capacity has different levels. Let's understand them. Capacity levels, first one is maximum or installed capacity. It refers to the maximum possible production capacity of a plant as indicated by its manufacturer, which can be achieved only under perfect conditions, that is when there is no loss of operating time. Due to normal loss of operation time, it can never be achieved in practice and it becomes merely a theoretical capacity. In most of cases, maximum capacity and operational capacities are not identical due to normal laws. For example, a plant can work 8 hours per day. Here, maximum capacity is equal to 365 days into 8, which is equal to 2920 hours. Second, practical or operating capacity. It refers to the maximum possible productive capacity of a plant less capacity to be lost due to normal reasons such as normal repairs, normal maintenance, normal delays, Sundays, holidays, stock taking, etc. Thus, practical capacity is equal to maximum capacity minus normal loss of capacity. For example, a plant can work 8 hours per day during a 6th day of a week and remains closed for 18 holidays exclusive of Sundays during a year. Average idle hours per month is 20 for cleaning and maintenance. Here, practical capacity is calculated as under. First, maximum capacity, that is 365 days into 8 hours, which is giving us rupees 2920 hours. From that, deduct capacity due to normal reasons. First is Sunday holiday, 52 multiply 8, 416 hours. Holidays, 18 multiply 8, 144 hours. Maintenance, 20 multiply 12, 240 hours, giving total 800 idle hours. If we will deduct 800 idle hours from our maximum capacity, then practical or operating capacity comes to 2120 hours. Next, normal capacity. It refers to long-term average of capacity based on sales expectancy. It is expected to be utilized over a long period based on sales expectancy. Its determination considers the average utilization of plant capacity during one full business cycle, which may extend over 2 to 3 years. For example, normal sales expected 12,000 pieces, rate of production per hour 6. Here, normal capacity is equal to 12,000 divided by 6 is equal to 2000 hours. Next, capacity based on sales expectancy. It refers to the capacity to be utilized on the basis of expected sales. Next one is actual capacity. It refers to the capacity actually achieved during a given period. It may lie between practical capacity and capacity based on sales expectancy. For example, actual production 10,800 pieces, rate of production per hour is 6. Here, actual capacity is 10,800 divided by 6, giving us 1,800 hours. There are several obstacles which does not allow plant to work on 100% capacity. When plant is not in a position to work on expected capacity, difference between expected capacity and actual capacity is known as idle capacity. Now, let's understand meaning and calculation of idle capacity. First, meaning of idle capacity. Idle capacity refers to that part of practical capacity which cannot be utilized due to abnormal reasons like lack of product demand, shortage of raw materials, shortage of labor, shortage of power, etc. Second, let's understand calculation. Idle capacity can be calculated through the formula idle capacity is equal to practical capacity minus actual capacity, or normal capacity minus actual capacity, or practical capacity minus capacity based on sales expectancy. Third, let's understand how to calculate idle capacity. Idle capacity cost refers to cost associated with idle capacity which could not be recovered due to underutilization of plant. It can be calculated through the formula which is idle capacity cost is equal to total cost related to plant divided by practical or normal capacity multiplied with idle capacity. In cost accounting, idle capacity cost is recorded in accounts according to the nature of idle capacity, because happening of idle capacity is related with happened circumstances. Treatment of idle capacity cost can be treated according to situations, and there are three different situations. Let's understand this situation. First, situation or reasons for idle capacity. If the idle capacity is due to unavoidable reasons like repairs, maintenance, etc., then the treatment for such idle capacity is such costs are charged to capacity utilized by using a supplementary overhead rate. If idle capacity is due to abnormal reasons like faulty planning, power failure, etc., such costs are charged to costing profit and loss account. And third situation or reason for idle capacity is if the idle capacity is due to seasonal factors, then such costs are charged to the cost of production by inflating overhead rates. Now, in final stage, let's see practical calculation on idle capacity. Let's understand with the help of illustration. Calculate idle capacity cost from the given information. Practical capacity of plant 2120 hours, actual capacity of plant 1800 hours, fixed overhead of a plant for the year rupees 5,30,000. Let's prepare solution. Idle capacity cost is equal to total fixed overhead of plant divided by practical capacity multiplied with idle capacity, which is equal to rupees 5,30,000 divided by 2120, which is our practical capacity, into idle capacity, that is 2120 minus 1800 hours, which will give us rupees 80,000. Accounting treatment of idle capacity for rupees 80,000 can be given on the basis of reasons or situation. Refer part number 5 to understand or to refresh given situation. First, if the idle capacity is due to unavoidable reasons like repairs, maintenance, etc., such costs are charged to capacity utilized by using a supplementary overhead rate. Second, if the idle capacity is due to abnormal reasons like faulty planning, power failure, etc., such costs are charged to costing profit and loss account. And third, if idle capacity is due to seasonal factors, such costs are charged to cost of production by inflating overhead rates. Another emerging issue pertaining to overhead recovery is activity based costing. Now, we will have discussion on overhead recovery through activity based costing. Let's understand meaning of activity based costing, terminology used in activity based costing, understanding about cost driver, and practical understanding for activity based costing approach. Difference between traditional approach and activity based costing approach. First, we will understand meaning of activity based costing. Activity based costing, that is ABC, is a technique of charging overhead to cost objects, that is product, services, jobs, customers, etc., under which overheads are first calculated separately for each activity and then are charged to various cost objects on the basis of activities consumed by these cost objects. According to Cooper and Kalpan, ABC systems calculate the cost of individual activities and assign cost to cost objects such as products and services on the basis of activities undertaken to produce each product or services. CIMA London defines activity based costing as cost attribution to cost unit on the basis of benefit received from indirect activities, that is ordering, setting up, assuring quality, etc. Every new or emerging concept brings different terminologies, and in the same way ABC system is to be understood with its own terminologies. Let us see those terms used in activity based costing. First one is activity. An activity under ABC analysis may be defined as a particular task or unit of work with a specific purpose. For example, placing of a purchase order, setting up of a machine, after sale service, etc. Second, cost object. It is an item for which cost measurement is required. For example, a product, a service, a job or a customer, etc. Third, cost driver. It is a factor that influences the cost of an activity. Cost driver is of two types: resource cost driver and activity cost driver. First one, resource cost driver. It is the measure of quality of resources consumed by an activity. For example, number of purchase order placed will influence the cost of purchasing the materials. Similarly, number of times machines are set up will influence the cost of setting up of machines. Resource cost driver is used to assign the cost of a resource to an activity or cost pool. Second one is activity cost driver. It is a measure of the frequency and intensity of demand placed on the activities by cost object. It is used to assign activity cost to cost object consuming the activity. Let us see some business activities and its cost driver. Examples of cost drivers for various business activities. For example, business activity is purchase of materials, then cost driver can be number of orders placed or number of receipts of materials or number of inspection. In case of business activity of setting up of machines, cost driver can be number of machine setups, number of machine hours, and in case of business activity of customer service, cost driver can be number of products serviced, number of service calls, number of hours spent on service. Any system has its way of working, and working is done in chronological order to arrive at 100% outcome. To implement ABC system, its predetermined stages are to be followed. Practical steps in activity based costing approach. Let us understand practical stages involved in activity based costing approach. Stage 1, identify significant activities. An activity is considered to be significant when the total cost involved in the activity is significant enough to justify give an activity a separate treatment. For example, ordering of materials, receiving and inspection of deliveries, production setup, self-stocking, customer supports, etc. Stage 2, calculate the total cost of each activity. For example, total cost of ordering, total cost of receiving deliveries, total cost of production setup, total cost of self-stocking, total cost of customer support, etc. Stage 3, determine the appropriate activity cost drivers. Cost driver is a factor that influences the cost of an activity. For example, number of orders, number of deliveries, number of production setups, number of hours of self-stocking, per store delivery, number of items sold, etc. Stage 4, calculate the activity cost driver rate as follows. Activity cost driver rate is equal to total cost of an activity divided by cost driver. For example, total cost of ordering is rupees 1 lakh, number of orders are 1000, then cost per purchase order is equal to rupees 100 per purchase order. Stage 5, charge the activity cost to end products, jobs and processes. Activity cost charged to end product is equal to activity consumed multiply with activity cost driver rate. For example, number of purchase orders for product A and product B are 10 and 20 respectively. Activity cost driver rate is rupees 100 per purchase order. Then the ordering cost charged to product A is equal to 10 orders multiply with 100, which is equal to 1000 rupees, and ordering cost charged to product B is equal to 20 orders into rupees 100, which equal to rupees 2000. To understand ABC in better manner, let's recollect understanding about traditional approach with illustration. Let's understand traditional approach. Under traditional approach, overheads are first allocated and apportioned to various production departments and service department. Then overheads of service departments are reapportioned to production department, and then the overhead of production departments are charged to the end products on some suitable basis like machine hours, labor hours, direct wages, etc. It is based on assumption that the end products consume resources in proportion to the volume of production. Let's understand with the help of practical examples. Annual output in terms of units given for product X is 10,000 and product Y 20,000 units. Total machine hours given are 20,000 for product X and 10,000 for product Y. Total annual overheads given are rupees 3 lakhs. So, overhead absorption or recovery rate is equal to total annual overheads divided by total machine hours. Therefore, rupees 3 lakhs divided by 30,000 hours, which will give us rupees 10 per hour. Now, let us allocate this cost. Overhead cost at rupees 10 per machine hour for product X is equal to 20,000 hours into rate is rupees 10 per hour, giving amount rupees 2 lakhs, and for product Y 10,000 hours into rupees 10 per hour gives us rupees 1 lakh. Therefore, overhead cost per unit is division of C divided by D, which is equal to 2 lakhs divided by 10,000, which will give us rupees 20 per unit for product X, and 1 lakh divided by 20,000, which will give us rupees 5 for product Y. After having understanding about traditional costing system, now let's understand how both the systems are different from each other. Let's understand difference between traditional approach and activity based costing approach. Traditional approach differs from activity based costing approach on different grounds, which are: number 1, assumption. Under traditional approach, it is based on assumption that end products consume resources in proportion to the volume of production, whereas under ABC approach, it is based on assumption that end product consume resources in proportion to the volume of activities. Second base of difference is procedure. Under traditional approach, overheads are first allocated and apportioned to various production departments and service department. Then overheads of service departments are reapportioned to production department, and then overheads of production departments are charged to end product on some suitable basis like machine hours, labor hours, direct wages, etc. Whereas under activity based costing is a technique of charging overhead to cost objects, that is product, services, job, customers, etc., under which overheads are first calculated separately for each activity and then are charged to various cost objects on the basis of activities consumed by these cost objects. Third point of difference is accuracy. Traditional approach is not so accurate as ABC, and ABC is an accurate system of costing because the distribution of overheads is based on cause and effect relationship. Next point of difference is objective. Traditional approach is subjective approach because it uses arbitrary basis for apportionment of overhead, and ABC is objective approach because it uses activities basis for distribution of overhead. Next point of difference is control. Traditional approach does not facilitate the control over those activities which cause fixed overhead, whereas ABC facilitates the control over those activities which cause fixed overhead. And last point of difference is the identification of unnecessary activity. Under traditional approach, it does not facilitate the identification of unnecessary activities, whereas ABC approach facilitates the identification of unnecessary activities. Let's understand both the system in comparative form with the help of illustration. Illustration: PCT Limited produces 3 products X, Y and Z for which the standard cost and quantities per unit are as follows. Output in units given: for product X 10,000, for Y 20,000, for Z 30,000. Direct material cost per unit: for X rupees 30, for Y rupees 20, for Z rupees 10. Direct labor hours or wages per unit: for product X is rupees 20, for Y rupees 40 and for Z rupees 60, and here the rate is rupees 20 per hour. Machine hours per unit is for product X 3 hours, for product Y 2 hours and for product Z 1 hour. Number of purchase requisitions: for product X 1000, for Y 200, for Z 300. Number of machine setups: for X 150, for Y 100 and for Z 50. Production departments are given. Production department P, overhead cost is given. For production department P, it is rupees 7 lakh and for Q, it is rupees 11 lakh. Department P is labor intensive and department Q is machine intensive. Total labor hours in department P is equal to 1,40,000 hours. Total machine hours in department Q is 1 lakh machine hours. Production overheads by activity: for receiving and inspection activity, it is rupees 6 lakhs, and for production scheduling or setup activity, it is rupees 12 lakhs. You are required to prepare a statement of cost per unit under traditional absorption costing and activity based costing approaches. Also compare the results of the two methods and give your comments. Let's prepare solution. First, we will have a look at working. First, here we have 3 different products X, Y and Z, and all these 3 products passing through 2 production departments P and Q. Second, department P is labor intensive, so its recovery rate will be determined on the basis of labor hour rate, where total labor hours will be 1,40,000 hours. Third, labor hour rate given is rupees 20 per hour and labor cost for product X, Y and Z is rupees 20 per unit, rupees 40 per unit and rupees 60 per unit respectively. Consequently, per unit labor hours required for X, Y and Z are 1, 2 and 3 hours respectively. Fourth, 1,40,000 labor hours is equal to, for product X 10,000 units into 1 hour, plus for product Y 20,000 units into 2 hours, plus for product Z 30,000 units into 3 hours. Fifth, department Q is machine intensive, so its recovery rate will be determined on the basis of machine hour rate. 6. 1 lakh machine hours is equal to, for product X 10,000 into 3 hours, for product Y 20,000 units into 2 hours, for product Z 30,000 units into 1 hour. It is important to note here that direct materials and direct labor cost are direct in nature, hence it would remain identical under traditional and ABC system except overhead. ABC is concerned with overhead only. Let's understand this problem under first traditional method. Under this method, first of all, recovery rate is to be determined. Since information is about two situations, number 1 labor hours and number 2 machine hours, thus recovery of overhead will be determined accordingly. Step 1, overhead absorption rate, which is equal to overhead of the department divided by hours. For department P, it is rupees 7 lakhs divided by 1,40,000 labor hours, which will give us rupees 5 per labor hour. For department Q, it is equal to rupees 11 lakh divided by 1 lakh machine hours, which is equal to rupees 11 per machine hour. Step 2, statement of cost under traditional method. Direct material, it is given in the example, rupees 30 for product X, 20 for product Y and 10 for product Z. Direct wages, 20 for product X, 40 for product Y and 60 for product Z. Now let's allocate overheads of department P. For product X, it is 1 hour at rupees 5, therefore it is 5 per unit for product X. Y, it is 2 hours at rupees 5, therefore it is 10 per unit for product Y. Z, it is 3 hours at rupees 5 per hour, which is giving us 15 rupees per unit. Let's distribute overheads of department Q. For product X, it is 3 hours at the rate rupees 11 per hour, giving us rupees 33 per unit. For Y, 2 hours at the rate rupees 11 per hour, that is 22 per unit for Y, and for Z, 1 hour at the rate rupees 11 per hour, giving us 11 rupees per unit. Therefore, total cost per unit for product X is rupees 88, for product Y 92, for product Z 96. Now let's calculate under EBC method. Under traditional method, recovery rate is determined to arrive at cost, while under ABC method, cost driver rate is to be determined. Step 1, cost driver rates is equal to overhead cost of activity divided by cost driver. We have two departments, receiving and inspection as well as scheduling and setup. First, we will allocate receiving and inspection cost driver rate, which is equal to rupees 6 lakh divided by 1500 orders. That is, number of purchase orders for product X is 1000, for Y is 200 and for Z is 300, which is giving us 1500 for each product respectively. Receiving and inspection cost driver rate is equal to rupees 400 per order. Now let's calculate cost driver rate for scheduling and setup cost. Scheduling and setup cost driver rate is equal to rupees 12 lakh divided by 300 batches, that is, number of machine setups for product X 150, for Y 100, for Z 50, giving us 300 for X, Y and Z product respectively. Therefore, our scheduling and setup cost driver rate is equal to rupees 4000 per setup. Step 2, calculation of activity cost chargeable to the product. Here, we will prepare a table having 4 columns. First one is for particulars. Second, for product X, here we will have 2 sub columns for receiving department and for setup department. For product Y also receiving and setup, and product Z also receiving and setup cost. First, activity cost driver rate that we have calculated is for receiving overhead it is 400 and for setup it is rupees 4000, which will remain same for all the product X, Y and Z. Second, activity consumed by receiving for product X is 1000 and setup for product X is 150. For product Y, receiving is 200 and setup is 100. For product Z, receiving is 300 and setup is rupees 50. Activity cost assigned is equal to A multiply B. So, for product X, receiving cost is rupees 4 lakh and setup cost is rupees 6 lakh. For product Y, receiving cost is 80,000 and setup cost rupees 4 lakh. For product Z, receiving cost rupees 1,20,000 and setup cost rupees 2 lakhs. Number of units for product X under receiving is 10,000 and for setup is 10,000. For Y under receiving and setup it is 20,000 and for Z under receiving and setup it is 30,000. Therefore, per unit cost driver rate, which is C divided by D, is equal to, for product X, receiving cost rupees 40, setup rupees 60. For product Y, receiving is rupees 4 and setup rupees 20. For product Z, receiving is 4 and setup 6.67. Now, let us prepare statement under ABC method. Here, we will prepare two columns. First is particular and second cost per unit, and under cost per unit 3 sub columns for product X, Y and Z. Direct material cost per unit given in the example for product X is rupees 30, for product Y 20, for product Z 10. Direct wages per unit given for product X is 20, Y is 40 and Z is 60. And overhead cost per unit that we have calculated in above table for receiving cost for product X, it is rupees 40, for product Y 4 and for product Z 4, and setup cost per unit for product X is rupees 60, for product Y 20, for product Z it is rupees 6.67. Therefore, total cost per unit under ABC method for product X is rupees 150, for product Y rupees 84 and product Z rupees 80.67. Now, let us understand the comparison of results under traditional method and ABC method. Under traditional method, product Z appears quite costly as compared to activity based costing, because product Z consumes relatively more direct labor hours. On other hand, product X shows higher cost under activity based costing than traditional method. As the ABC approach is considered more logical, it may be presumed that results shown by ABC are more accurate. If selling prices are fixed on the basis of cost, product Z would be priced higher under traditional costing and product X would be priced lower. This will result in loss of sales of product Z and loss per unit on product X, leading to a loss to the company. In this module, we have acquired information about number 1, meaning of capacity, types of capacity levels, maximum or installed capacity, practical and operating capacity, normal capacity, capacity based on sales expectancy, actual capacity, ideal capacity, and illustration to understand the application side of capacity level. The knowledge about capacity level is very important for decision making, specifically cost determination of a product or service and sales value determination. Second, another emerging issue pertaining to overhead recovery is activity based costing. Activity based costing is known as ABC. ABC concept deals with one of the important components of total cost, and that is overhead. In case of overhead under traditional costing system, recovery rate is determined through formula of total cost divided by normal production. But ABC costing emphasizes on activities, and through activities recovery rate is determined. We have made an attempt to understand meaning of activity based costing, terminologies used in activity based costing, understanding about cost drivers, practical understanding for activity based costing approach, and difference between traditional approach and activity based costing approach. This ABC system is emerging concept of cost accounting, and it is not widely used yet, but has relevance to accept its use, and accounting community has to make the honest efforts for universally acceptance of this concept by eliminating its hurdles. Dear friends, we have studied all relevant aspects of overhead in total 7 parts. At a specific interval, try to refresh all these modules for better understanding of cost accounting in future. In subsequent parts, we will meet for discussion of methods of costing like unit costing, job costing, contract costing and process costing. I hope that you have understood one of the important elements of total cost, that is overhead, very precisely. Thank you.